During the following program, look for Frontline's web markers, which lead you to more information at our website at www.pbs.org. Funding for Frontline is provided by the annual financial support of viewers like you.
Many Americans still think of gambling as an outlaw industry, a world filled with gangsters and hustlers. But that image is changing.
Cocktail.
Gaming is one of the oldest professions in the world. Go back to the caveman days. They find it on the drawings and etchings on the walls of the caves. Gaming has been here for a long period of time.
And you expect it to become mainstream 10 years from now?
I think it's mainstream now.
Frank Fahrenkopf is an important man in Washington, the former chairman of the Republican National Committee, the co-chairman of last year's presidential debates. But he's not a public servant anymore.
Hey, Frank, how are you? Good to see you. How you been? You got a pretty good schedule for this meeting this afternoon.
Frank Fahrenkopf is the chief lobbyist for the gambling industry. Gambling has moved from the back rooms to the boardrooms, and it has a new name: gaming. It's classier, more respectable, downright American.
George Washington's army was clothed, and the rifles and bullets were bought with gaming revenue. That gaming revenue was from state lotteries put together. Well, they weren't state, they were colony lotteries that the 13 colonies put together to raise money to arm their civilians to fight the Revolutionary War. So, I mean, we probably wouldn't be here as a nation, perhaps, if the lotteries hadn't made that great contribution. So I see no problem with it.
You have to admire the Wall Street and the major corporations recognizing the potential of legalized gambling. And they recognize it, they bought the properties up, and they're just laughing all the way to the bank.
To the players, the corporations, the government, gambling looks like easy money. The quick fix. The big hit. Easy money.
Yes! Oh, look at that. Another 80.
It is the most popular form of adult entertainment. More popular than movies, sports, music, theme parks, and live entertainment combined.
Well, you forget everything in the whole world, and you're just thinking about the money.
Last year, the wagers totaled more than $500 billion, more than Americans spent on cars and houses combined.
It's the quick pay. You could be broke 1 minute with a quarter, and next time you put it in the machine, you could have money.
Red, white, and blue is the best slot machine.
The number of Americans who go to casinos has doubled in just the past 5 years.
We're not really looking for a big win, which we haven't found, but it's just something to do that's pleasurable.
Yes!
Oh yeah, if I win enough money, I could make all my dreams come true.
A lot of things that we were taught back 50 years ago is wrong. It's not wrong today. But we're having fun.
It used to be known as Sin City, a remote refuge for adult pleasures. Not anymore. Las Vegas is now America's fastest growing city. And it's not just for adults. The 30 million visitors a year include the whole family. It's one of the world's top destination locations. 11 of the 12 largest hotels in the world are within just a few blocks of each other. Las Vegas is now a mainstream resort. The same town that was once ruled by gangsters like Bugsy Siegel is now controlled by some of the nation's most respectable corporations.
The fact that Wall Street and the major corporations, ITT, Hilton, et cetera, MGM, have invested places an air of respectability. Gaming today is no different than going to the Metropolitan Opera. 20 years ago, gaming was a no-no.
Frank Lefty Rosenthal should know. Back when the wise guys ran Las Vegas, Lefty Rosenthal was one of the biggest men in town. Such a legend, in fact, that Robert De Niro played his character in the movie Casino. Rosenthal once ran 4 Las Vegas casinos at the same time. Today, he operates a sports bar in Boca Raton. To Lefty, the new corporate masters of Las Vegas don't really understand the business.
They understand the bottom line. I wouldn't think anybody at a high level of ITT has a clue about what gambling is all about.
Do they need to know the business to make money?
No, it's the only industry, to my knowledge, where you need not know anything. Nothing, zero.
So I think companies like ITT, Caesars, MGM Grand have said, what are we? We are the entertainment business. Why not expand upon that? Why not be those destination resorts where more people are going to travel?
Terry Lanny is the chairman and chief executive officer of MGM Grand Incorporated.
I think it's a part of why people want to be in this particular industry, because we are nothing other than an addition to the motion picture industry, to legitimate theater, to sporting events. We really encompass a lot of that within our own facilities.
There was a time when casinos could not get bank loans because of their shady associations. But now the mob is gone, tough regulation is in place, and loans from institutional investors are pouring in.
The pension funds who invest heavily in our business, I mean, the CalPERS, California Public Employee Retirement Fund, the Wisconsin State Teachers Pension Fund, the New York State Teachers Pension Fund are major investors in the publicly traded companies in this industry. If there's ever a time when they think there's something questionable about the regulatory process or the backgrounds of the people in positions within these companies, it is going to have a major effect on negatively impacting the availability of funding, which is the important factor for growing.
Today, Las Vegas has all the funding it needs. The growing popularity of gambling has triggered one of the most ambitious building booms in the history of entertainment. In Las Vegas alone, the industry plans to open $6 billion worth of new casinos over the next 2 years. And the competition to be the biggest and the flashiest is fierce.
That's the future of this industry. You build or perish.
Lanny's company, MGM Grand, opened the first new casino this year, New York, New York.
It's the greatest city in Las Vegas.
The industry itself has gone out into the country and promoted itself and told other jurisdictions besides Nevada and New Jersey that this is an industry that can work in your community, that can bring prosperity to your community. It's not always the case, but with the message comes the notion it's a legitimate industry.
Bill Thompson is a professor at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. He has been following the gambling industry's expansion to other parts of the country.
There are phenomenal profits to be made. So there is a business incentive that is driving the spread of gaming. Also, politicians are greedy for what they consider to be free money. They consider gambling tax like money falling off of trees. Well, it's not. It's money that comes out of people's pockets.
20 years ago, gambling was legal in only 2 states. Today, some form of gambling is legal in all but 2 states, Utah, and Hawaii. You don't have to go to Las Vegas to gamble today. The action is coming to a town near you.
That's okay.
These guys are predators. I really believe that they've targeted the poor, they've targeted the elderly, they've targeted our young, all for the sake of making money. These are bottom line guys, and I'll tell you, the more I see of them, the more dangerous they become.
Tom Gray knows his enemy. He spent the last 5 years on the road fighting the expansion of gambling. A Vietnam vet who served in the elite special forces, Gray is now a Methodist minister and the leader of the National Coalition Against Legalized Gambling. His latest fight, stopping a developer from building a gambling hall in the small town of Pittsburg, California.
Gambling's a predatory enterprise that's come from the other side of the tracks and moved itself and put itself on Main Street. The way we move it off is at the ballot box, and Pittsburg, California is a good place to do that. Good, let's go do it.
Let's do it.
Okay, good. The casino people said, we are the wave of the future, we are the force of history, we are inevitable. We will be within 2 hours of every American.
The people of Pittsburgh have been told that the casino will not only provide jobs, but more money to improve city services. Small towns find it hard to say no to what looks like easy money. But Tom Gray says as much as 5% of the local community is likely to become compulsive gamblers.
If you don't gamble, you're paying for it. You're paying for the losses of someone. We don't shoot families of compulsive gamblers, okay? We're a society that when someone loses everything, we take care of them. So can't have it both ways. The casino owners take the money, they maximize the profit, and they do nothing to minimize the pain, because you and I, as citizens, have to take care of that pain.
Hi.
Kim Guerrero is the leader of the campaign to stop the casino.
Yeah, is this about playgroup?
This is her first experience in grassroots politics.
Okay. All right, well, I'll talk to you as soon as I'm me again. Okay, bye. Playgroup for my daughter. They promised an elementary school, they promised a community park, they promised this great community, none of which has materialized. Instead, the plans have changed, and we're having a casino.
Kim's opponent is the developer who sold her home, Albert Sino. Sino refused to talk to Frontline. He has hired political consultants and telemarketing firms to promote the casino.
Right now, all of our focus is on raising money and getting information to the voters.
How did you do on the garage sale?
We raised just over $1,000. You want colors? Okay, hold on, just ask.
I get a great joy out of beating these guys with little money, but to know we beat them with garage sale money, really going to drive them crazy.
Tom Gray functions as advisor and cheerleader. He believes there's only one way to overcome gambling industry money: carry the battle house to house.
This is a good fight. I don't care what Albert Sino does. I don't care how much money he spends. He can't whip us. I mean, you'll never get in a better fight than you're in now, and we've got him right where we want him. He's got to spend money. His greatest fear is what's happening in this living room now.
You need paper?
Yeah.
What you gonna make?
Good evening. Welcome to tonight's debate on Measure A. Measure A asks the voters of the city of Pittsburgh to approve the San Marco Casino and Convention Center.
The casino developer has won the support of the Chamber of Commerce and the local police.
And this will enable the department in the long term to have more money in the fund, the $1.2 million guaranteed, to staff those officers and that equipment.
Are we to grow more police? Is that the American dream? Do you bring something in that creates crime and then we hire more officers? I think we'd want to work the opposite direction, that less calls, less crime.
The debate over gambling is now being played out in small towns like Pittsburgh all across the country.
I hope the majority of the Pittsburgh citizens share our view on these issues and vote yes on Measure A. Thank you.
To me, what's beautiful about this fight is that they're either right and we're wrong, or we're right and they're wrong, because there is no in between. The snake oil they peddle is economic development, painless revenue source in entertainment. They don't say, but a lot of you are going to lose your lives. A lot of you are going to lose your homes. We're saying it's not good economics, it's not good public policy, and it's not good for the quality of life.
For all the potential problems, it's hard to ignore the lure of easy money. James calls himself a gambler, but he doesn't go to Las Vegas very often. He doesn't have to. The action is right around the corner. His favorite play is the most popular form of gambling in the country, the one that has endorsed and legitimized gambling for everyone. James plays the lottery. His bookmaker is the state of California.
Thanks, sir. Okay, you got 10?
Yeah.
$100, right? You know, on the one I bought, you know, the other day before I left? Remember I had 3? I said I hit 3?
You went home.
Yeah, I went home. It was 104. You gonna come and sit down? No. But I spend $300 a week. I average about $300 a week. And maybe a little more if I hit. Well, I play birthdays, nieces, nephews, stuff like that. It works, yeah, sure. And I play license plates on the 3-digit. Like tonight, I play my old license plates, new license plates. I noticed that triples come out more on the weekends. Weekends, I play the triples only. 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, all the way down to 999. So it costs me $30 a weekend. And if you do it all year, it costs you $1,560 for the year, for the weekend. We miss a lot. He missed yesterday by one. I missed one by one number yesterday. I had 3.
Gamblers like James miss almost all the time. Lotteries have the worst odds of any legal bet, unless you run the game. The state of California makes more than $1 billion a year from its lottery.
Okay, now we're back for 10 more. That wasn't too bad.
One time it was 117 million. We missed one number. Believe me, when you hit, you think you are 18 years old. You don't worry for nothing tomorrow. No for bills, no for this, no for that. But you have to play for it. If you don't play how you want to
Ali,
win.
run them
That's
through.
it. Yeah, get this one.
Yeah.
Come on, Chuck.
Like most states, California is struggling with how to properly control and regulate this rapidly spreading industry. Legal gambling in the state amounts to a $16 billion a year business, and it's still growing. This operation is known as a card room. There are almost as many card tables in California as there are in Las Vegas. But unlike Nevada, where gambling is strictly regulated, there is no state regulation of California card rooms.
On this game right here, these people are playing against each other, right?
Unfortunately, that player lost looked like about $1,000.
$1,000.
This is a fact-finding team from the California State Legislature.
We're open 7 days a week, 24 hours a day.
For the past 5 years, the legislature has been working on a law to regulate card rooms, with little success. Critics charge that unregulated gambling halls are fertile ground for all sorts of criminal activity, from money laundering to drug deals.
Everything sleazy in gambling is happening in the card rooms. There's lots of loose money. There's cheating at the games. It's unregulated. If money laundering and loan sharking is going on, that just hypes the business. If the drug people must come to the tables and pass the money around, that just means more people are sitting at the table and the casino is making more money. There is no concern.
So the card room benefits from criminal activity, you're saying?
Oh, certainly, because it is something that will boost their business. And you bring all the people to one site, they sit there, the casino takes its cut, everybody's happy. They are providing a place for money laundering and deals to be made, and so they benefit. So the casino's not concerned about whether the game's honest, then there is no state government regulation in California. It's a formula for disaster.
Dan Walters is a political columnist for the Sacramento Bee. He has watched the gambling regulation bills come and go. The reason none have passed, he claims, is because everyone involved doesn't want them to.
Well, the reason we don't have gambling regulation in California now is even though there's a lot of gambling, those who are immediately involved in the issue, politicians and lobbyists, are trying to milk it. They get money, campaign contributions, money in lobbying fees, and they don't want to kill the golden goose. They don't want to stop the cow from giving milk, to use another analogy. And they probably won't resolve it until the goose stops laying eggs and the cow stops giving milk.
More and more of the expense account meals at political gathering spots in Sacramento are being purchased with gambling industry money.
This has been a full employment act for lobbyists in California. Dozens of lobbyists have gotten pieces of this action, and they charge very hefty fees to whatever interest groups they're representing, card rooms, Indians, Nevada, people, whoever they might be. So they have a vested interest in keep this thing churning as well. So the people who are doing the actual negotiating have all the reason in the world never to resolve the issue.
Good morning and welcome to our annual and biennial press conference on this subject. Maybe it's the time of the season, but there appear to be fewer lobbyists this time around than before. I don't know if that's a good sign or bad sign, but we'll proceed even though I think we have a lack of a quorum in that house.
Dan Lundgren is California's Attorney General. He has been leading the campaign to regulate card rooms for the past 5 years.
Every year we get just a little bit further along the line towards passage. The first year, you may recall, our gambling bill got only one vote in Senate committee, and that was the vote of the bill's author.
The Attorney General's bill has faced stiff opposition from both the industry and his political enemies. The one person whose support Dan Lundgren needed most was not in the room that day. His most powerful political opponent, Senator Bill Lockyer.
You talked to Mr. Lockyer about this legislation this time around?
He said to me in a rather jocular fashion, looks like we're going to have to work on that gambling bill again. And that has been the extent of our substantive conversations on this thus far.
It's difficult to pass legislation here because the system is so complicated and power is so distributed, but we're doing our best.
Bill Lockyer knows a lot about how the system works. He is the president of the California Senate and the most powerful Democrat in the state legislature. There will be no gambling regulation bill without Senator Lockyer's support.
The suggestion's been made that we need this huge bureaucracy at the state level in the Attorney General's office. Now, this is a fellow who claims to be a conservative, limited government advocate. But as soon as it's something that he's in charge of, he thinks we ought to amplify the regulatory effort and spend a lot of money, create a lot of political jobs that pay $100,000 a year of people to sit on some commission part-time. My view is that's a Cadillac solution to a motor scooter problem.
So Senator Lockyer wrote his own gambling regulation bill.
Mr. Chairman and members, I have Senate Bill 8, which is another attempt to provide for enhanced regulation of gambling activities in California.
Every move to regulate California gambling has been shadowed by an army of industry lobbyists. In just 5 years, gambling interests spent more than $7 million to lobby the regulation bills. The fight has been going on so long, in fact, that the players keep switching teams. This is Gene Urban. 3 years ago, he was one of the authors of the Attorney General's bill. This year, he's a lobbyist for a Las Vegas casino.
You know, you got to look behind, why are these people doing some of these things? And it all boils down, money and power, to hell.
Dick Floyd is also a veteran of the regulation fight. He used to be a lobbyist for the cardroom industry. Now he's a member of the state assembly.
And all these idiots determined that this was a slot machine?
And one of the gambling industry's most vocal supporters.
Mm-hmm. I'm an advocate for any industry that provides 20,000 plus jobs in this state.
They're all fighting with each other, these different groups and interests. And what's interesting for people like me is you eventually discover how liberating it is to do whatever you think is right. Someone out there will agree and contribute to your campaign.
And contribute they have. Since the first gambling regulation bill was introduced in 1992, political contributions to California lawmakers have totaled $7.5 million. And the same thing has been happening in state capitals across the nation. The gambling industry has quietly become one of the most generous political lobbies in the nation. An investigation by Mother Jones magazine found that in just the past 5 years, the gambling industry has spent more than $100 million to influence state legislatures.
Well, basically, anybody that spends money in this game wants things their way.
Madam Chair and members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity for allowing me to be here. I'm very humbled by the experience.
5 years ago, no one in the state legislature would have listened to Anthony Pico, but they're listening now.
This solution works for us, just as it does for the state of California, just as it does for private gambling resort owners, and just as it does for Wall Street investors.
Anthony Pico is the leader of the Viejas Indians. Native Americans are newcomers to the regulation debate. They support limits on gambling elsewhere in the state to protect the new and hugely profitable monopolies on their sovereign lands.
Yeah, so we can do a little thing and walk, because you know how it comes down over there, and the new boundary, because you know we bought some new land.
The Viejas used to be among the poorest residents of California, but gambling changed all that. They come by the thousands, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Welcome.
The once desolate reservation, 30 miles east of San Diego, is now teeming with activity. It changed almost overnight when they opened their casino.
Bingo is called on code 69.
Congress passed a law permitting Indian tribes to offer gambling on their sovereign lands. 10 years later, there are 150 Indian casinos across the country. In California alone, more than 70 tribes have or plan to build casinos.
On this reservation, there are very few elders left, because almost all of my father's generation died from alcoholism. Our culture has been obliterated. Our language is almost dead. Our custom and traditions are still being followed, but are becoming a faint memory because of poverty.
All the numbers on pages 2 and 3.
The Viejas Indians once had 80% unemployment. Today, they are the largest employer in the valley. The tribe used to survive on food stamps. Now, each member has a guaranteed income of more than $1,000 a week, their share of the gaming revenues. And there is still plenty of money left over to ensure the tribe's future.
We set up scholarships for every child on the reservation. And the scholarships were for their higher education through doctorate. That's what they so desired. What we've done is we've invested in ourselves. The priority is the children, and those children not yet born, and our elders.
An ancient chant, the burning of sage. The Viejas performed this ceremony to purify a bank in nearby Borrego Springs. A century ago, the Indians were run out of this town by white settlers. The same bank would not have given the tribe a loan just 5 years ago. Today, the Viejas own the bank. They bought it with cash.
Well, we've seen a lot of changes too, especially in the last 4 years, let me tell you. It's been great though.
Indian casinos are the fastest growing and least controlled form of legal gambling. Hundreds of tribes are anxious to join this movement towards economic independence. They call it the return of the buffalo.
It feels so good to be responsible. It feels so good to be a contributor rather than a liability.
How's your music career going?
Very well, sir.
All right.
Yep.
Yeah, glad to hear that.
Everything's really
You guys
good.
been playing lately anywhere?
The Viejas Casino employs 1,700 people, 99% non-Indian.
We treat them well, we treat them like family, because that's important. It's important to us as a people, and those are our values, but also, hey, it's good business.
Gambling profits have transformed California's Indian tribes. They are now major players in state politics. Along with the card rooms, the racetracks, and Las Vegas interests, their lobbyists are carefully tracking the gambling regulation bill. Every hearing is packed with interested parties jockeying for position.
You did shut down a joint in Fowler, right?
That's correct.
Why?
In that particular situation, they were heavily underfunded, and
The Attorney General's staff has spent a lot of time in hearings pushing for regulation, with little success. With so many players, it's often difficult to tell who is calling the shots.
Why can't we put that language in?
This is Rod Blonian, a lobbyist for the state's largest card room. He's meeting with Brenda Johns of the Attorney General's office and staffers from the Assembly and the Senate. Blonian has some problems with this year's regulation bill.
This bill is a railroad job. The AG wants the ability to preclude us from having ex-parte communications with the division or the state.
It's not unusual for lobbyists to play active roles in writing new laws. Staffers know they cannot pass a bill that the gambling industry opposes. So the lobbyists are not shy about voicing their opinions.
Yeah, put that in, Brenda. No. Put that in and we'll dance the tango.
I get the general concept,
Okay.
but can you sort of explain what you're proposing in the...
Yeah. My people need to compete on a level playing field with the Indians.
I think we made some serious headway here, and I hope you recognize that and tell some of your people. And we've got some amendments that we'll be sharing with you.
Okay.
But even when the industry approves, that's no guarantee the bill will become law.
I, Hughes. I, Hurt. I, Johannesson. I, Ross Johnson.
Since the first regulation bill was submitted to the California legislature, there have been 5 floor votes, and each time the proposal to regulate gambling won by a huge margin. However, when the same bills moved behind closed doors, all were quietly killed.
I would like to mention that I'm sincerely disappointed that we were unable to close on gaming legislation last year.
Senator Lockyer submitted a regulation bill last year that won almost unanimous support. The bill was minutes away from approval when something unexpected happened.
The person who makes the rules controls the House or controls the Senate. And a couple of key people in those instances, for whatever reason, did not want them to move. And those individuals who normally, when killing a bill, would take credit for it in daylight, sort of walked out with bemused looks on their face as if they didn't know what happened. The funny thing is, it worked.
It did work. One man killed Senator Lockyer's bill. Senator Lockyer.
The bill was passed the Assembly in that form on the last night, went over to the Senate, needed one more floor vote in the Senate to go to the governor. And Bill Lockyer basically adjourned the Senate in a few minutes before that bill actually physically reached the floor and left no doubt about it. It doesn't leave any doubt about it that he did it to kill that bill.
There were a lot of discussions from which I was excluded, culminating in some agreement below the...
Senator Lockyer claims he killed the bill because it was full of amendments he had not approved.
Well, the ostensible reason by Senator Lockyer was that there had been a number of add-ons put into the bill and that there had been a lot of amendments in the last days without his consultation. The only problem with that is we had managed to strip out all of those amendments.
There's a lot of bad blood between Dan Lundgren and Bill Lockyer. I mean, it's personal. It's ego and party.
The Attorney General apparently promised lots of the groups, the horse tracks, the card rooms, the Indian tribes, that all those things they had tried to add into this bill, he could do for them administratively. So I found myself in the uncomfortable position of facilitating all these backroom deals that the Attorney General was trying to make just because I had a bill.
That just shows you how convoluted this can be. There is no reason, there's no good reason, there's no good justification for it.
One result of Senator Lockyer killing his own bill was that the issue of gambling regulation remained alive for yet another year. To ensure access to the leadership, the industry had to give generously one more time. Senator Lockyer and the state Democratic Party were showered with gambling industry money. In just 4 months, contributions totaled more than $500,000.
As the leader of the Democrats in the Senate, I have an obligation to help finance all of the expensive campaigns. We now spend $2 million on each side of a state Senate election. It's just horrible, and we need to change that. But that's one of my tasks and responsibilities.
Meet George Hardy, the man whose influence with California politicians, including Senator Lockyer, helped stop gambling regulation. Hardy is a founding partner of the Bicycle Club, one of California's biggest card rooms. The secret to his political success, Hardy admits, was money.
You know, it does enter a politician's mind who his supporters are, and if he can try to justify, or maybe that's the wrong word, or rationalize, or feel that supporting that individual is important, then he's going to do that. The card club industry had not had much of a presence in Sacramento until the Bicycle Club and myself suddenly realized we better, if we were going to be competitive in the ball game, that we better get in there and make our presence known and try to make some friends.
George Hardy made lots of friends, all the way to the White House. This photo op on Air Force One cost Hardy a $20,000 contribution. Everyone important in California knew George Hardy. His bicycle club gave more than $1.5 million in political contributions in just the past 5 years.
We gave substantial sums. Yes, it's a lot of money, but it's in relationship to the business. When you have a $100 million a year business, and it was growing at the time, then you need to protect that industry and protect your business.
He's one of the colorful, fascinating rascals of California business. I found him to be very interesting, just as a character. He seems to have very complete and credible explanations about his own business and background that defend himself and his activities. Beyond that, he certainly is a person that is controversial.
The Attorney General remembers George Hardy, too.
Well, he was up here quite a bit. He was one of those who he was one of those who came up and testified against it. He was one of those who basically said he was going to kill it. He was one of those who worked as hard as he could to kill it. One of those who said it wasn't needed. And he was talking with the authority of the Bicycle Club and the federal government behind him.
The federal government behind him? That's right. The controlling partner in Hardy's Bicycle Club is none other than the U.S. Department of Justice. One of Hardy's original partners was convicted of drug smuggling, so his share of the club was turned over to the U.S. Marshals. We wanted to show you the inside of the taxpayers' gambling hall, but the Department of Justice would not let our cameras in. They were concerned our cameras would disturb the gamblers.
The clients don't like it. It's an invasion of their privacy. They're not consenting to be filmed and broadcast, so they were very much against it and didn't like it. And the word I had from everyone was that it would be bad for business to have any kind of cameras in there.
The Bicycle Club was the largest asset ever seized by the federal government, and that was 7 years ago.
Well, I don't know what it's made, but what I hear from them is they'd have to sell it at a fire sale. They wouldn't get enough money for it. And that was never the intent of asset forfeiture law. They were to get in, they were to get out. 7 years is a long time.
I don't think they ever seriously, for years, wanted to sell because they were making $5 million a year from the asset. So even though the guidelines under seized assets say sell promptly, they had no intention of selling promptly.
The federal government has turned a tidy profit from its card club, at least $35 million.
When you have what was a golden goose, everybody thinks, they want to get a piece of it, whether they're qualified in any way or entitled or competent. And that's what's hurt the bicycle club. The government saw a great opportunity. If this had just been a machine shop that was breaking even, they would have never bothered with it at all. Money, it's like honey, attracts the flies.
And card rooms attract criminal activity too, even one run by the U.S. Department of Justice.
We've seen drug deals go down at the bicycle club. We know of money laundering, large-scale money laundering that took place there. We have it on film, for God's sake. We have film of people bringing in bags of money, tens of thousands of dollars worth of money, and over a period of hours being able to launder it.
The U.S. Marshals insist they don't have sufficient evidence of criminal activity.
At this point, there hasn't been a single case brought to the attention of the U.S. Attorney's Office which is prosecutable, and we don't know of any law enforcement agency today who would say that there are cases that we could prosecute that are federal offenses that aren't being pursued.
Surprised the government runs a gambling hall suspected of criminal activity? Well, that's not all. Some of its gambling profits went to promote the card room industry. Remember all those political contributions that George Hardy made? All of it was approved by the U.S. Department of Justice.
Under the terms that I operated as the general manager, anything over $25,000 they had to approve. They were well apprised. I felt it was my responsibility to keep them apprised of all the activities at the club.
Including political contributions?
Oh, absolutely. But it was a business. And in running business, you contribute to political campaigns to protect your business.
Even if you're the federal government?
Well, don't say that because they don't like it.
It's obvious that when you have a political contribution made by a business entity under the control of the United States, there's a clear perception problem, even if the contribution is otherwise legal under the appropriate laws. And it should stop.
But it went on for 5 years.
I really wish that it had stopped earlier than that. I'm not going to say that we don't feel otherwise. All I can tell you is that when we became aware of the extent of it, we stopped it. It's against policy. It won't happen again.
Think about this. On behalf of the Bicycle Club, contributions were being made to influence elections in California, local as well as I believe state, but certainly local, and they were paying lobbyists to come up here. Some lobbyists, I believe, were lobbying against my bill. There's the Bicycle Club, which has a controlling ownership interest by the United States Department of Justice. Last time I looked, we're not a banana republic. California shouldn't have to worry about the federal government coming in like a rogue CIA and trying to overturn our elections. I resent that tremendously. I think it's an embarrassment.
They're using gambling money to influence legislation in American government, but the gambling money is being used by the government to influence the government, and the influence is a negative one. The influence is one not to have regulation. It's just incredible. It's just incredible.
These are not the guys to run a joint. They would blow it all, man. Those guys don't run a joint. They're bureaucrats.
Why is the government even in the business of gambling? There are prohibitions about advertising gambling for private individuals, and yet the state's out telling you how wonderful it is to come down and spend part of your paycheck and try to hit the lottery, which is the worst gamble in the country.
Going in good style, morning to good night, spreading the good news.
The state is asking you, in a very discreet manner, to take some money and try to become a millionaire.
This could be your ticket to the good life.
The state is encouraging, the state is an advocate, and the state is creating the interest by advertising to the public, gamble, make a bet, you can win, you can be a millionaire.
Are we hitting? We're almost done. This is my last game on this.
I got 9. I just missed 4 out of 4 3 times on that. That could have been maybe $200-300 there. I got back the money I played, so it's worth playing it again. Oh, our numbers are coming out. Our numbers are coming out. See, I got 2 numbers there again.
Gambling today is within range of almost any citizen in this country, whether it be lottery, poker, Las Vegas, Nevada, Atlantic City, floating casinos, open-air casinos, dog tracks, you name it, high-life frontons. It's there.
When the public has a chance to decide, they tend to say no to gambling. The people of Pittsburgh, California ended up rejecting the casino in their town. But such small victories have not slowed the growth of gambling.
I don't think we recognize, any of us, how dangerous the growth and expansion of gambling is. 99 and 9/10% of the public, including myself, have 2 chances. One is slim, the other is none, and slim's out of town. Years ago, we found out that you make more money with square dice, meaning legitimate dice, than you do with balonies, I&E, phony dice.
Lefty Rosenthal isn't in the gambling business anymore. He has a slot machine at his club, but it's only for show. Nevada regulators have banned Rosenthal from Las Vegas casinos. He says most gamblers don't really know what they're getting into.
The public, being so uneducated, doesn't realize how vulnerable they really are to what we call the heat. The heat being, you start out very lightly, very small, very conservatively, and then you lose your control. And when you work in the industry and you work behind the counter, and you watch their eyes and you watch their habits, and you see someone with an extremely high IQ go down the tubes, you recognize that we all have an Achilles heel. And I've witnessed that on thousands of occasions.
I was down $3,000 in, 8 months since it's back? Yeah. In 8 months, I lost $3,000. But it's bound to come out in 100 games. That's the true way if you want to. But see, I enjoy watching it. I got 2 out of 3. All right, what do we got? Last game? We got 1 more game. We're not doing good. But we hit 1 hit, and it could be $380. So then the 100, we got 280 to split. You see what I'm saying? The last game, the last number, we hit a couple times. And of course, we were screaming because we got excited.
People walk down to your grocery store on Saturday night when the jackpot is 30, 40 million, and look who's standing in line. James Bond's not standing in line with a blonde on his arm waiting to buy his quick pick ticket. Understand this is preying on those people that can least afford it.
Lotteries, riverboats, Indian casinos, racetracks. America is obsessed with gambling. No matter how many casinos are built, there are always enough gamblers to fill them.
One just need walk or drive through Las Vegas, Nevada, and ask themselves, how could so-and-so build a casino for $1.5 billion? Where is he getting the money? Who's supplying the funds? It's you.
This is my wife, Debbie.
Hi.
And very exciting opportunity. We're now opening, going to push number 1 here because we're going down to the ground floor from the 38th floor penthouse here at the new New York Hotel Casino. We have a special party for 3,500 of our nearest and dearest friends. Thalia, my dear, Happy New Year.
MGM's New York, New York has been phenomenally successful. Gamblers are visiting the new casino at the rate of 500,000 a week, and investors are betting that the crowds will keep on growing. Some of the new casinos will cost well over $1 billion.
So Wayne, what do you think of this whole New York theme? Right here, one time, one last time.
We're going to do a lot more hotels, so we have a lot more openings for people to come to.
That's wonderful.
In just the first 3 months, New York has earned a profit of $31,000 an hour, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
And this is a man who taught all of our people to be the dealers here. He trained every single dealer in the table games here in New York. So you better be very careful when you're playing here. It'd be very difficult to get a 21 against this fellow on blackjack. Hey, how are you doing?
Congratulations.
Thank you. We're pretty excited with this. It's going to be a great facility. What do you think of it? Honestly, interior.
Having grown up in New York, I feel like New York has been brought inside. It's better.
This is the great new New York.
It's better than the outside is the inside.
Yeah, we kind of feel that way too. If casinos are an integral part of what people want to do as a form of entertainment, why couldn't it be one-stop shopping? It's almost really like your mall. It's like it's the old shopping mall, if you will. I think there'll be little difference between a major motion picture studio, a hotel casino, entertainment casino, a non-gaming entertainment resort. I think they're going to be very similar. I think it's going to become much more acceptable on that basis. 10 years from now, the issue of gaming won't be an issue.
Ali, before you close, I'm going to play this again.
The question of whether Americans should gamble doesn't seem to matter much anymore. Americans will gamble, and with the enthusiastic approval of their government.
Good night, Ali. I'll be back, Ali.
Both lured by visions of easy money.
Check out Frontline's website for more persuasive arguments on gambling's impact. Learn what the odds are against the player in casino and sports betting. Study our timeline of the spread of gambling. Join our discussion and much more. Explore Frontline online at www.pbs.org.
Next time on Frontline, so you're playing the market.
Sold! Everybody's making all this money on Wall Street.
I'm up 35%.
You might make a fortune,
Probably made about 13, 14 million.
I'm counting on the market for my retirement.
or you could lose your
I
shirt.
lost about 18 million.
A little bit like going to the track and betting on number 3.
Sold.
How much of a gamble is it?
I have 2 kids I want to put through college.
What's going in today is blood money.
Betting on the market.
Now it's time for your letters. Many of your comments after this program's first broadcast joined in the debate about gaming.
Dear Frontline, people
that's going to gamble. The very least the gaming industry should be made to do is pay for the social ills they help to create. Bill Lewis.
Dear Frontline, all forms of gambling should be heavily taxed. If people are dumb enough to gamble away their hard-earned money, they should pay a stupidity tax. Wallace P. Heller, Liberty
Dear
Hills,
Frontline,
Illinois.
I am most troubled by state lotteries in which a state profits by promoting gambling addictions among its citizens. It also comes with the blessing of the state in that it helps education or some other worthy cause. In the case of casinos, people have to travel to them to lose their money. There is also the honesty that gambling is purely business and not a public virtue. Greg Lichty, Louisville.
Dear Frontline, I thought the program was great. I work with pathological gamblers, and the seductiveness of being in action is unbelievable. The Indian casinos have certainly helped many Native Americans, but I have seen so much of that money just go right back into the casino. Our state is gambling's biggest bookie and its biggest addict. Bill Shute from Watertown, South Dakota.
To read more of this discussion, visit Frontline's website at www.pbs.org.
Funding for Frontline is provided by the annual financial support of viewers like you.
For video cassette information about tonight's program, please call this toll-free number, 1-800-328-PBS1.
This is PBS.